Hi everyone, it's James here. Welcome to another video. So today's going to be a contest entry for my very good and old friend Richard McCook here on YouTube and the vinyl community. If you haven't checked out Richard, do so already. Great guy, and he's got a huge record collection, great encyclopedic knowledge of pop music. His videos are something to behold. Master of the Rankings video and much else besides. So Richard is having a contest, and it's a bit of a mystery contest. In fact, he wants us to try and guess what the theme of it is, so we'll get to that in a moment. So there's some quite straightforward questions and then a more difficult question at the end. So let us proceed with the easier questions. So the first thing, so there's a four theme, quarters to be more exact. Quarter, four, fourth, however you want to call it. So Richard wants us to show four records, and he wants us to show four eponymous records, in other words, four self-titled LPs, albums. They don't have to be debut albums. Eponymous records often are debuts, but not all of mine are. In fact, I don't think, oh no, there's one of them that is, I think. Yeah, so four eponymous records, and they have to be ones which are favourites. Now, I'm not going to say these are my top four favourite eponymous records, but they're definitely ones that I like a lot and listen to a lot. So yes, they are favourites. So the first one, we'll go with the very famous second album by the band, which is known as the Brown Album, but is just called the band, and it's the one with the famous shot of them all with the the beards and the long coats in the rain. So I've always loved this record. This is the first band album I ever heard, and it took some getting used to, I must admit, but it's got some great songs on it. You've got Rag Mama Rag, The Night They Drove El Dixie Down. A great favourite of mine on side two actually is, well, in fact there's quite a few. Look Out Cleveland is a song which I've always liked, very funky. The Unfaithful Servant, just beautiful, timeless Americana, and it really defined the genre, really invented the genre pretty much. What year would that have been? 68, 69? That's just a guess. Yeah, so moving forward, bit of a contrast. This is a debut record, one which I've shown before, and I'm going to do a feature on this because this is an album which just grows with stature every time I listen to it. This is the debut album by the American New York, I think, singer-songwriter Suzanne Vega, and this would have come out in 1985, actually, a bit later than I would have said. But this record, I discovered this, I don't know, a fair few years ago now. I'll tell the story when I get to doing a feature on it, but it's a marvellous record, great lyrics, wonderful musical settings, and it contains what is probably her best song, Marlena on the Wall, which is definitely quite magical, and yeah, it's just a record that has grown on me tremendously over the last few years. You can see here we've got a seam split. The record keeps trying to escape. It's on A&M. So yeah, Suzanne Vega, we'll go with that second. Now this third one, I can't say with 100% certainty that this is not a compilation album. I don't think it is, but I've not looked it up. If it turns out that it is, then so be it. Even if it is, it's still eponymous in the sense that it's not called Greatest Hits or the very best of. It is simply called Susan Cadigan, who is she was a Jamaican singer. I don't think she's a singer anymore. Got a feeling she retired after this record. She made a couple of quite big songs, really. Not sure if they were hits, but they're certainly known to collectors. I first heard about this record on the series. It was the CD series All Back to Mine back in the 90s, when various artists were given the opportunity of compiling a compilation CD of favourite deep cuts, and it was the Orbital edition. Featured from this record the song Don't You Burn Your Bridges, which is on side two, which is a wonderful, well, I think the whole record actually is a Lee Scratch Perry production, but it has that great kind of swampy, murky kind of vibe, all those deep bass frequencies, but her just really very angelic voice over the top, very, very lulling kind of sound, just beautiful, beautiful singing, and this extraordinary musical backing. Some other great tracks on here. You've got her version of Fever, which is fantastic. In the Ghetto, the opening song, is brilliant. Just one of the great all-time reggae albums. Like I said, if it's a compilation album, then so be it. I don't think it is, but I stand to be corrected. Either way, it is eponymous, just called Susan Cadigan. So There we go. Do I have a date on that one? No, I don't. But I can see this record was printed in London. Trojan Records, of course. I bought this from Jumbo Records in Leeds. Would have been 1993. And the fourth of the four is a record which I've shown this a few times. I showed this when I did a video with Ross Goodall not so long ago. This is a record that was sent to me as a gift by Tommy Burton over in the States. This is the debut album, I think, by Marshall Crenshaw, American songwriter, and again, a bit like the Suzanne Vega one, this is a record that just gets better every time I listen to it. Came out in '82. Just has a great kind of oldie vibe, really. Ross, when I did the video with Ross, he pointed out that it sounded like Buddy Holly, and it does really. The songs have a kind of basic quality to them, quite skiffily, but they're also shot through with a bit of an '80s new wave sensibility. But contains some fantastic material. The song "Girls" on side one is just brilliant. Definitely a very, very strong singer-songwriter album from the '80s by Marshall Crenshaw, and I need to get to know more of his material because this is the only record of his I've heard so far, so yes, need to educate myself a little bit more. So there we go, Marshall Crenshaw is the fourth eponymous record that I have. Richard wants us to show the record in our collection with a title that has the most number of characters, so it can be numbers, letters, punctuation marks, etc. Now, I've watched a few entries to the contest so far, and there have been some quite impressive ones. People showing titles that have, 65, 70, 75 characters. I can't do as good as that. There are a couple that I've got that have more than this, but they've been shown already, so I decided not to show things that have already been shown. I mean, this might have been shown already. I've not seen anybody show it yet. So this is the best I could do, and it's only 44 characters. So I feel like I've kind of let the side down a little bit, but 44 is not bad. And it is one that sprung to mind immediately, actually, because I thought to myself, yeah, that's definitely got a bit of a longer title than you might think. It's not just called War of the Worlds or The War of the Worlds. It is Jeff Wayne's musical version of War of the Worlds. So we've got many letters, got no numbers there, but we do have a possessive apostrophe on the word Wayne's, which counts. So if you add all those together, you get 44 characters for Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds. Now, I've not checked the label to see whether it says that on the actual label. Should we have a look? No. So on the label, it just says The War of the Worlds, but I'm going to go with it. What about on the spine? Okay, the spine also says War of the Worlds. But look, it says on the cover Jeff Wayne's musical version of War of the Worlds, so I'm going to go with it. 44 characters. That's the end of the story. Right. So the second record has to have is the record in your collection which has the least number of characters. And again, this one sprung to mind straight away. Never need an excuse to show these guys. My first favourite band. You're all now shouting out the name, I'm sure. But this is the debut album by The Motors, who came up on the pub rock scene in England. This album came out in 1977, and you can see there that the album is simply entitled One. And that gave you the clue that it was indeed their first album. So there we go, The Motors, One. And there we go. So that's all the easy questions answered. So the final question that Richard wants us to answer is he wants us to just basically guess. So the contest is to do with quarters or a quarter. Richard wants us to guess, what does this quarter refer to? Now, I mean, I honestly don't know. I've seen various people giving various answers to this, some of them more serious than others. I'm going to go with the facetious answer, Richard, because I just haven't got a clue. I'm going to say that you've checked your channel stats and you've established that a full 1/4 of your viewers are female and under the age of 21. There we go. I think that's more than likely. So there we go. That's my entry to your contest, Richard. Hope you enjoyed the entry, everybody, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more entries in this. Great questions, great fun. So take care, and I will see you soon.